What's poppin', people? It's Dante. Just getting the morning started off with a walk and the sunrise. Check it out. What a beautiful, beautiful surprise. A clear open sky. I love when there's no clouds in the sky. I don't know why. I think, it always just reminds me how open the world is, how much there is to do, to see, to explore. It's like, what is out there? I'm just curious. Look, a bird's nest. Wow. Yeah, I just like to, like the first thing I like to do in the day is to just surround myself with trees, with natural things. I don't know, it's the best way, I think. You know, as a street photographer who's always out there photographing people, who's always out there interacting with humanity, and you know, I love humanity, I love society. Man, I can't get myself to do it right away in the morning. You know, I gotta go for a hike, I gotta, you know, surround myself with nature. And so, yeah, as I catch this sunrise, you know, it's so cold in the mornings. It's the winter now in Philadelphia. I can feel my hands sort of freezing up. I can feel the muscles in my sort of face sort of cramp up as I speak right now. Yeah, welcome to the winter in Philly. Chilly, chilly Philly. Wow, what a tall looming tree. This is beautiful. Yeah, I love to just carry the camera with me wherever I am. And yeah, just kind of snapshot my way through life. You know, what's so empowering to me about the medium of photography is that we wield light as our medium and the world is our canvas. You know, for me, I think after all these years of photographing for a decade, honestly, my intrigue is light itself. And this is why I'm so happy to have sort of transitioned to black and white, is so that I can really hone in on my interest in light as a medium. And you know, one thing I was thinking about in terms of photography recently is a lot of photographs are happy accidents, right? A lot of what we do as photographers is out of our control, right? What are we in control of? We're in control of positioning ourselves and our camera. We're in control of timing and pressing the shutter at a particular moment. But the light, you know, this is something unpredictable. We can't necessarily control the light. And I love that because it's that spontaneous element of practicing street photography that I'm always curious about, right? And I think that's what makes street photography specifically so interesting. And just photography generally is how life and light is kind of out of our control. And so, you know, for instance, I recall a scene in Zambia when I was a Peace Corps volunteer photographing these boys and these children playing across this like empty frame. And there was a moment where one of the boys was climbing to the top of a pole and he turned his face and looked a particular way, and you know, the way the light casted on his face, the way his eye was visible and the shadows fell in the background are elements and things that I didn't necessarily predict, right? It's not necessarily something I could imagine or pre-visualize before I press the shutter. You kind of just approach a scene, you approach something that you're photographing, and you have this idea that, yeah, there's something here. You press the shutter a couple times, you move around a couple times, and then you have happy accidents. You have surprises that is ultimately what keeps me going back out there. It's the surprise, it's the spontaneous nature of light itself, right? Where light is not in our control. And I actually think that is why I love photography. It's that it's not in my control. And I think in life we try to control a lot of things, you know, in general, right? You know, we like to have ordered lists and tasks to do throughout the day, to be productive, to sort of check boxes. But just, you know, photography reminds me to embrace my childlike curiosity and the spirit of play. And, you know, thinking of spirit, maybe actually photography itself isn't necessarily just a way to document, right? I think of photography more so as a way to engage the physical world, you know, physically, mentally, and spiritually in a way. And, you know, hear me out. You know, I think the photographer is responsible for positioning themselves on the front lines of life, close to life physically, right? Close to humanity, close to the subject that you are photographing, right? But I think that it goes beyond just this physical connection. There's an emotional connection that you have to the world around you. And I think through recognizing that, through the photographs you make, they become a reflection of your soul, of your spirit. You know, and this to me is the most empowering way to go about photography. It's the philosophy of making pictures that reveal your soul, that reveal your essence. And I find that the photographs that I make, they're almost like my essence in motion these days, where I'm constantly changing, I'm constantly moving, and I'm always in flux. And I find that, you know, this idea of impermanence, you know, the fleeting moment, you know, this is to me at the forefront of my philosophy in photography. And yeah, I just think it's important to recognize what is in our control as photographers and how a lot of it really is out of our control. You know, if you even think of thoughts that you have, you know, you're not necessarily responsible for the thoughts that you have. A lot of the times thoughts kind of come to you, but you're responsible for responding to the thoughts. You know, you're responsible for how you react. And I think through honing in on our intuition as photographers is very similar to this, where we respond with our gut to the world around us. And that's where that spontaneous sort of moment, that's where the magic of photography reveals itself to you. And so, yeah, recognizing what's in our control, what's out of our control, I think is crucial. And so, yeah, just some random thoughts today was on my mind as I was riding the bus and thinking, you know, it's very dark in the mornings, but, you know, I love watching the sunrise. You know, maybe if it's dark outside, yeah, we got to just create our own light. Love listening to the songs of birds.